everybody, Brandon here from Gearist. And today we're going to be bringing you the Vazee Summit #2 from New Balance. Until recently, you may have noticed there's been a bit of a New Balance drought here on Gearist, but with me doing this shoe right here and with our run category manager Lori doing the New Balance Fresh Foam Hyero version 2, you can check out that link right here if you'd like to. We are super glad to be back in touch with our Boston-based friends and getting some more New Balance content up on the site. Today I'm going to be getting deep into the Vazee Summit version 2. Now, version 1 of this shoe I did not have a chance to test, sadly, especially seeing as I loved the Vazee Pace, the first one, so much, and I was really curious to see if the racer slash firm road feel of that shoe could make it over to this shoe. So let's get into it. The outsole of the Vazee Summit #2, the very dirty outsole of the Vazee Summit #2, is virtually unchanged from version 1 of this shoe, but since I did not personally get to try version 1 of this shoe, let's take a look at it. The rubber that New Balance has used here is the brand's hydrohesion rubber compound. Now what this is meant to do, as the name would suggest, is to be sticky whether wet or dry without sacrificing durability. The 4mm deep lugs of the outsole, which you can see right here, are not directionally oriented. They are rather oriented in these lines that just go forward and back depending not really on what part of the shoe they're on. It's kind of just the way they are. Some shoes you'll see the back lugs, for instance, face this way and the front lugs face this way to assist with ascending or descending. In this case, they kind of both go either direction. Doesn't really seem to matter much. Now, I would also consider this to be a full contact outsole, although as you can see here, there are no lugs right under the midfoot. The last pair of New Balance trail shoes that I personally reviewed was the New Balance Fresh Foam Gobi, which it turns out was just really a trail adaptive version of the Fresh Foam Zante #2. Now, for me, it didn't really offer the protection that I wanted. And the traction was also something that really left something to be desired, especially on more technical trails. It just didn't quite get it done on some of the trails that I normally run here. However, this shoe right here, the Vazee Summit version 2, really steps up where the Fresh Foam Gobi was lacking. These lugs have been on wet, dry, rocky, snowy, rainy, muddy. I've had this on so many things and I've really enjoyed it every step of the way. On snow and things like that, it really did actually a pretty good job of sticking in there. And they were snowy trails, not snowy road. And on dry trails, it was really very good in a wide variety of terrains, whether that was scree or some more groomed trails or those larger, flatter rocks where some rubbers tend to have a bit of a challenging time. This hydrohesion rubber held up very well and was actually quite sticky. Now on muddy trails, I could have used a deeper lug here and there. These did really fine. I mean, there's nothing that I would say is lacking from this, but when you get into a certain situation like that where you want to have a deeper lug that can get down, or some more loose terrain, things like this, 4mm is absolutely fine and is pretty standard. A deeper lug would have been a little bit better, but that is not exactly what this is for. This is not your super technical trail shoe, though you can adapt it for that pretty easily. While certainly not the most aggressively lugged thing in the world, I have to say that this holds up on such a huge variety of trails. It's going to be a shoe that appeals to a lot of people with a lot of different running styles and terrains near them. I have a wide variety of that here at the Gearist headquarters in Colorado, but you might have just a fire road or something like that. This will still handle that just fine, as it will with more climbing trails like I have here. And one thing that I also was underimpressed with the Fresh Foam Gobi is the durability of this, which is done very well. With about 35, actually at this point, about 45 miles since I actually wrote the review. I wrote it when I had about 35 and about 10 more miles on it right now. The durability is really spectacular. I'm not sure if you guys can see, that's a little out of focus. The durability has been very good with only a little bit of wear in the normal spots where I would expect to see it. As we move into the midsole, I feel it's important to say that, you know, when I review a running shoe or any product for that matter, I do my best right up front to keep comparisons to other shoes out of it. I make it very subjective to the shoe that I'm reviewing, although there are comparisons that slip in here and there, and that is certainly one of the cases with this shoe, where the Salomon Sense Ultra is certainly something that I was reminded of repeatedly. Number one, by the aesthetic. This is kind of a very Salomon-esque look. You can see here we've kind of got the semi-monochrome up front and the single shade in the back. It's kind of a really cool look and something that a lot of brands are starting to do these days with big, bold color choices. The other place that I saw that was in the action of the midsole and the ride of the shoe. Now, I'll get into this obviously more in the ride section, but for now, let's just talk about the construction and the function of the midsole. The entirety of the midsole is made from New Balance's Revlite foam, which provides a good amount of cushioning, also with a good amount of protection and responsiveness. Under the front 3/4 of the shoe, and you can see it in the cutaways, these orange bits right here, that is the Rock Stop rock plate, which you can find in the shoe, and it offers a good amount of protection, especially since there's not a ton of stack in this, where you've got 27 millimeters of stack in the heel and 17 millimeters of stack in the forefoot for a net drop of 10 millimeters. I should say that the stack of this on paper, it really belies the way that it feels, because it does not feel like it has a 10 millimeter drop on this shoe at all. And the stack doesn't feel that particularly high. And I have a feeling that when they measured this on the New Balance website, they're measuring from the bottom of the lug. So you take 4 millimeters off that, you bump those down to 23 and 13 millimeters. Not a lot of stack here, so that rock plate really comes in handy. It also provides a good amount of ground feel through that Revlite foam that we've got going on here for a really responsive shoe. Moving into the upper of this shoe, this is where the biggest changes from version 1 of the Vazee Summit really come into play, keeping in mind, of course, that I did not review or try version 1. The body of the upper is made using New Balance's Phantom Fit technology. Now what this is 2 pieces of lightweight mesh bonded together to really form this very cohesive and very durable and sturdy and still supple and supportive feel. The whole thing is overlaid by these bonded overlays, which you can see here, with the only real open section of breathability is right, well, in the tongue, but primarily over the vamp, which we can see right here. The rest of it has these kind of turkey leg cutouts, which you can see there, and I will talk about those more in a minute. This is a pretty big departure from version 1 of the shoe, which had much more open mesh. You can check out that right here, and you can see that there's a much more traditional look and feel to that. I have not done any super hot runs in this shoe yet, hot weather runs, but I'm curious to see what happens with that. So when I do get this out on a hot trail, which we will have plenty of here very soon, I will definitely be sure to update this down in the comments below. So be sure to subscribe to our channel so you can get those updates. Underlying this seamless upper is again something that reminds me of Salomon. It's Salomon's Endo Fit, actually, and that's this internal booty construction. I'll hold it up right here. You can see where the tongue right here actually forms this entire booty that comes down to right about here, to right about the front of the foot. So you've got really like the middle third of the shoe and the foot being tied down by that. And it doesn't actually have a name that I can find, so it's very similar to the Endo Fit from Salomon. This is a lightweight, stretchy mesh which encircles the foot and connects right down here along the midsole transition. This doesn't actually have a truly gusseted tongue, but this system does indeed keep out some of the debris. However, if you're going for looser stuff and you're running through, I don't know, some sandy, pebbly stuff, eventually you're going to get debris in here, just as you will with pretty much any shoe. But since there's not a true gusset, that's another way that stuff is going to sneak in there. The heel cup right here, while very well formed, is actually pretty flexible for a trail shoe. You know, a lot of times trail shoes have those a little bit more rigid to add some stability on some turns and jumping here and there. But in this, it functions very, very well and actually maintains some of that semi-ness of the Vazee Pace version 1, which we tried out, where this heel counter only really extends up to about here, and then this part up here remains entirely flexible. The foam on the collar and tongue is really excellent in my opinion. You know, I don't like a lot of overstuffed foam, and this does a good job. It's plenty to be there and keep you comfortable on longer runs, but not so much that it just feels overly stuffed and unnecessary wherever it is surrounding your foot. The laces are kind of this helix thing. It's kind of like a helix meets sausage link. It's very, very interesting, and I found it to work very well. They didn't come untied even when single knotted over longer runs. For me, the upper of the shoe is very, very solid, and the overall look and feel, that slickness, it goes right into the fast and light feel that is this shoe. It really, really wants to go very similar to the Vazee Pace version 1, which we tried. The fit is one more place where the shoe feels very similar to the Salomon Sense Ultra shoe. The internal booty really hugs the foot, making this really cohesive bond between the shoe and the foot, which is nice and adds to the ability of the shoe to really get around some pretty tricky terrain. Lori, our run category manager, who is also reviewing the shoe, mentioned that right here behind the last eyelet came a little bit high on her ankle. Now, I personally did not notice this at all, but it is worth pointing out and it is something that she noticed. The forefoot is a good width, though not super spacious, which really again points to the racer type feel of this shoe. And moving into the toe box, there is a good amount of room. It's very comfortable, but again, like almost all shoes, it could use just a tad bit, just like 3-4 millimeters of additional space on that lateral side to add for wiggle and splay of the toes. As I mentioned before, the racer fit and feel of this shoe is definitely something that you will probably pick up on pretty quickly. It really likes to go, and this is a shoe that's gonna rip. With that, let's get into the... Up to now, you probably guessed that I really like the shoe. This is true. However, the ride is where this really shone for me. As I mentioned before, the ground feel of the shoe is excellent, and it manages to pull off being fast and perceptive without being too harsh. It can handle some long, slow miles while still being really just chomping at the bit to rip off some fast descents or anything on the flats. If you're looking for a shoe that's a little more cushioned, this may not be the shoe for you. There's certainly out there, and I'm certainly not writing off shoes that are more cushioned, even though I like a more firm shoe. For me though, this shoe brings a lot to the table in a very sleek and zippy package, which is also reasonably light with the men's size 9, this is a size 11, coming in at 9.1 ounces. Not the lightest thing in the world, but actually pretty acceptable for a trail shoe. Now I've sprinkled a few comparisons to the Salomon Sense Ultra with this shoe throughout this review, which you may have noticed, and I do so because I think they're both fantastic shoes. But here's something that really sets these two shoes apart, and that is the price. While the Sense Ultra comes in between $175, $185, depending on where you can get it, this guy right here comes in at $100. I mean, I've recently been telling you guys about an overall uptick in the pricing of running shoes, but this shoe right here proves me very happily wrong, and I'm very glad to see that. The price of this is excellent. If you think it fits in your quiver at all, you should definitely buy it. You should definitely check the buy links down in the description of this video, because that's going to be a good price. You're going to find it at $100 or less down there. I'm thoroughly impressed with the Vazee Summit #2, and while it may have been a very similar ride and everything in version 1, which I didn't test, I'm very happy to have gotten my shoes into this guy. Now guys, before we get into our question today, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Like and share this video. Share it everywhere you can. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you can put up something about Gearist. We want to see you guys do it. It would mean a lot to us. Definitely subscribe, because we've got some promotions coming your way, as well as new Gearist swag. We've got hats on sale right now, which you can see at facebook.com/Gearist. There's a little shop button up there at the top. You can get our Gearist Technical Trucker hat, and there are some shirts on the way, so keep an eye out for those. Now our question of the day to you guys is, what is your favorite type of trail to run on? Do you like that groomed single track? Do you like technical stuff? Do you like fire roads? Do you like grass? Do you like that off-road type of stuff? Let us know down in the comment section below, and tell us what your favorite shoe for running your favorite type of terrain is. Guys, thank you so much for watching today. It really means a lot to me and all the crew here at Gearist to have your continued support. Thank you so much for everything that you do, and if you'd like to see more from Gearist, please don't hesitate to reach out to us on Twitter @TheGearist, Instagram @Gearist, Facebook Gearist, or email info@gearist.com. And hell, if you really are here in Colorado, let's go for a run, bike, hike. We've also got crew in Virginia and Texas and California. You name it, we'll get out there and get adventuring with you. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and we will see you next time.